Okay. All right.
David, so he faces the...
I don't know. Ask Kathy. Do you want David to face us or them?
Oh, ask him.
Do you want to face us or the audience?
It's like the wood or put on the side of it. And Janelle, if you let Kathy take it,
Okay.
Kathy,
Okay. Yeah.
1 second.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Happy to take attendance.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Kathy, do you take attendance before or after I call the meeting to order?
You call the meeting to order, and then I will do the roll call, is that right?
Yep. Okay.
Everybody's
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I call this meeting of the Sebago School Committee to order.
Wonderful. All right, I'm going to take the roll call then. So Danelle Allen
Present?
and, thank you, Wendy Newcomb. I know Wendy's there. Yes. Chris Carrier. Here. Rich Bianculli.
Here.
And Maggie, thank you, Maggie Williams.
Okay. All right. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Does anybody have any agenda adjustments?
Janelle, is there an executive session for personnel at the end?
Yes.
Yes. It's number 14. Yep. I have an agenda adjustment. I don't think we need the discussion item 11B about changing the time of meeting. I think we've already solved that. Does everybody agree with that adjustment?
Agreed.
Okay, all right. Okay, do I need a motion for agenda adjustments? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so could I have a motion to eliminate 11B?
I move to eliminate 11B.
Thank you,
Second?
thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, minutes. I need a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 15th, 2022.
Okay,
Seconded?
okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, we are up to public comment. Does the public, anybody have any comments this evening? Going once, going twice, yay. Okay, superintendent's report.
And Kathy Stanko will give the report this evening.
Right, so I'm Kathy Stankard, and as you all know, but I think for the people in the community who haven't met me, and I'm the assistant superintendent, so as Superintendent Galen mentioned, I will be providing his report. So 2 items. The first is that we received notification that 2 important members of our community are retiring. Ted Bridge Konigsberg, I think is how he says his name, our 4th grade teacher, will be retiring at the end of this year, as will Leslie McConnell, our Title I teacher. And again, we received their retirement letters. It's very bittersweet. They've been an important part of the community, and we wish them all the best in the next phase of their lives. And then the second item is budget. We finalized the budget timeline this evening, and the first meeting that the public should be aware of is the meeting, the school board workshop and meeting on the 28th, when you will have an opportunity to review the FY24 budget in its entirety. And then also, we've reached out to the town manager. We're hoping to hear back from her soon. We're looking forward to working with her as we prepare the budget for next year.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
it?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I
So-
make a comment?
Yeah,
I just briefly wanted to say some words of gratitude for both Ted and Leslie. I didn't have as close a working relationship with Leslie, but Ted and I were colleagues years ago, and he was that magical, incredible educator that made my child cry when school ended. He's done incredible things for this community for decades, and I'd be remiss to not say that. So thanks to both of them for dedicating their entire careers to our town.
And we'll have, at the end of the school year goes closer, talk to the school committee to express their gratitude and thanks as well.
Thank you.
yes. Okay, thanks, Chris. Presentation. Review of fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23 year-to-date budget. Yes? No?
So I believe I see our district accountant and all-around wonderful person, Susan, in the audience, even though she's out of my camera sight. And now so much better. Okay, so Susan is going to share year end for the FY22 budget. This will serve as kind of a precursor to the audited report that you'll receive in the upcoming months. And then just briefly, a year-to-date status check on where we are.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Susan.
I am Susan Tuttle. I'm the business manager. I remember some faces from last year. I know it's your favorite time of year to talk numbers and accounting. Don't fall asleep on me, please. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. But I gave you two packets here. The top one we'll go over first. That is for last fiscal year. These are the fund financial statements for FY22, so year ending June 30th, 2022. We will start on the third page. This is Schedule 1. This is your budgetary comparison schedule. So we are just looking at the original enacted budget for the town warrant versus final budget and the actual numbers. So looking at the revenues, we had almost 22,000 more revenue than budgeted, and that was primarily attributed to additional main care reimbursements that were not budgeted, special education state agency client reimbursements or subsidies, the transportation, is it the motive care? A lot related to special education reimbursements. That's really hard to budget for. And we also sold the bus last year for $5,500 that was not budgeted. And then looking down at expenditures. What did he say?
He said excellent.
Excellent job.
For expenditures, we came in just under, or just over 25,000 under budget. We spent the 3.74, budgeted 3.76. So after considering the 22 additional revenue and 25 fewer expenditures, the general fund on its own, the operating net change in fund balance was negative. Oh, sorry. That would be the 9,709. And then when you consider the transfer out to the school lunch fund, that was budgeted. The total change in fund balance for FY22 was the $30,000 deficit. And
Susan, do you want to explain that?
Sure. So starting at, if we were to look at the start of FY '22, so that would have been, July 1st, 2021. We started with fund balance of 207,000. And so with the activity in FY '22, that $30,000 deficit, it brought down your total fund balance at the end of FY '22 from the 207 down to 177. So $30,000 deficit reduced your total fund balance. Does anyone have any questions about that? No. So then we can move on, go back one page to the second page. This is our, this is your statement of activity, basically an income statement. And this is for all governmental funds. So in addition to the general fund, you also have the school lunch fund. And then we have a few other governmental funds, which I will circle back to in more detail in a couple minutes. Looking in the first column, we have the 3.74 million in revenue. The 3.889 that you see total, it includes on behalf payments. And that is really, these are reported in the governmental financial statements for US GAAP reporting standards. But what that comes down to is it is the contributions made on behalf of Sebago School Department by the state for retirement contributions. So it's all related to the pension plan for the main public employee retirement system. And if you look down in, they're also on behalf payment for expenditures. So that 136, it nets to zero effect on the general fund because it's a revenue and expenditure, so it doesn't really impact the bottom line so much. So yeah, as I mentioned before, down at the bottom here in the general fund column, we see the beginning fund balance of 207. The deficit of 30,000 brought your ending fund balance down to 177. And then looking at the school lunch fund, it brought in $93,000 in revenue. That's really, it's just the National School Lunch Program subsidies, the reimbursements. And then total expenditures were 118, so that fund also had a operating deficit. However, adding the $40,000 in from the general fund, it brought that up to a surplus of 14,000. So that added to the beginning fund balance of 11. So it ended the fiscal year 22 with a fund balance of 26. And then other governmental funds, we can skip over to page 5, the last page. All of these here are your other governmental funds. They're primarily student activity funds, federal grant reimbursement funds, and a few other local foundations, I guess, who have contributed money to the school that we keep set aside from the general fund, and we track it for designated purposes. So all of these listed here. If we're looking the first half all the way down, so the student council fund down to the main agriculture, those are your student activity funds. And then the bottom half, starting at the ARP ESSER 3 down to the E-rate fund, those are all of your federal grant reimbursement funds. So obviously the ESSER 3 had the largest amount of activity, 176,000 that was paid for by COVID funding last year. That was expenditures for a new bus, a literacy curriculum, and salaries and benefits for additional social workers and ed techs. Total federal reimbursements last year were $313,000, and that is a direct reduction to your general fund expenditures. then we can skip over to page 1. I'm almost done. So, this is your balance sheet at fiscal year 22 year end. Your assets, obviously cash, accounts receivable, prepaid expenses, which I think is just health insurance that is for July premiums that we paid last June. Accounts payable, this is really just related to the timing of our AP cycle. And then fund balance is really what you have left over from your assets after you pay your liabilities, right? So your components of fund balance, they show 177,000 total. Committed, we have the reserves. That is your $100,000 in the unanticipated cost reserve, and $60,000 in the capital improvement reserve. And, oh, I did note here, so last year the Warren article authorized a transfer of up to $100,000. So if we had had enough fund balance at FY22 year end, we could have potentially transferred up to 100,000, so that committed balance would be 200. However, there wasn't enough due to the deficit last year, so David made the decision that $60,000 was reasonable, and we left the $17K in unassigned. And that is really, it's not authorized to be used because your FY23, your current year fiscal budget, we budgeted to use 0 fund balance. If we had budgeted to use some of the school's fund balance to help fund the FY23 budget, we would have an amount in this assigned category, but there's nothing in that component because really we don't really have much to budget to use. So the unassigned is, it's not authorized. It's kind of just chilling there and hoping that we can add more to it. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. And then the second packet is a FY23 year-to-date through December 31st. So we're talking 50% of the budget, 50% of our way through the fiscal year. Again, if we want to go to the third page of this, it's your budgetary comparison again. If we were exactly on budget at December 31st, we would see 50% remaining in the final column, the far right. But you can see there is some fluctuation there. So obviously the debt service looks a bit concerning. However, that's only a one-time-a-year thing. So the actual, I think we only have another interest payment left. So that will not be over budget. So the 14% looks a bit intimidating, but it's not because we've already paid the principal balance. We just have a spring interest payment. Everything else is, it's not too far off budget. Transportation is a bit under, a bit over, there's 41% remaining. And the other instruction, that's your like co-curricular, extracurricular line, there's only $1,000 budgeted there, so not much to play with, but we haven't tapped into it yet. And then the special education, that's usually one that fluctuates, it's a little bit volatile. But it looks good. As of December 31st, there's 61% remaining, so a bit ahead there. And I mean, it says change in fund balance of $2 million, but it looks really good right now because we've recognized essentially all revenue for the year, while only recognizing 50% of the expenditures. So that change in fund balance will continue to decrease over the rest of the year.
It only changes if we continue to pay bills. If we stop paying bills, we're good.
Does anyone have any questions?
It's a very good explanation.
Susan, I think it's important that the school committee have this information as we go into FY24 budget development. Matt, I think it would be great if we could make sure we have the FY22 file that Susan shared, posted under budget on our website. We should be doing that every year. So we should be able to track back at FY18. Fingers crossed.
So I guess,
Susan,
yeah,
as always,
to add on
thank
to that, I guess I will say, the financial flexibility portion here, your unassigned fund balance basically, it's a representation of your financial leverage. So if we came in exactly on budget for FY23, and we budgeted to use $0 and we use $0, we still only have that 17,000, right? So for FY23, we're gonna stay positive and hope that we have some type of surplus that we can add to that. However, it wouldn't be wise to budget to use fund balance still where it's not a plentiful situation.
Yep.
But we're still working on it, so I don't have any budget updates. David said we weren't ready for that yet. So that's still a work in progress.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
You're welcome, thank you.
Our other presentation is health curriculum.
All right, and before we get started, I'd just like to introduce Liz Canal. She's going to, give her a little background. She's been teaching health for us for the past 4 years. She taught health in Lake Region as well, and she's going to talk about her request for updated health curriculum.
Hold on 1 second.
It only happens when you need it to work.
I had it working this afternoon.
It was just. I'll do that.
Safe travels.
Still a field trip, David.
Wow,
Nothing at all.
careful with me there.
You wanna go skiing with the kids tomorrow? We can have some fun.
Hopefully this works now. So we use a program called the Great Body Shop. And, well, this is not playing very nicely. If you want to take one and pass it down, that kind of gives an outline of what is taught at each grade level. And I do have some numbers on the side for you, which I'll explain in just a minute. There we go, okay. So what I am kind of looking for is to update the program that we use. The current program that we have is from 2014, that was when Lake Region purchased it. And in the past, what we have done is you buy the curriculum, and we reuse the materials year after year after year rather than buying new ones. And so kind of what can happen with that is,
we get these lovely handouts for students to use. And you'll notice the numbers that I put on the side of the paper I gave you. It tells you how many students we have in each class, and then how many of these handouts I actually have per grade level. And you'll see that there are some that are not the same. So what ends up happening is we photocopy what we have, and then I have to give out the photocopy. And it differs from class to class. Some kids love to get these ones, and they fight over them, and in other classes, nobody wants these, and they're left on the table. So it creates really and you can pass these around, see the difference between them, but it creates like a disparity between what the kids are seeing. You notice the nice color one versus the not so nice black and white. Yes, I have colored copies as well, but it's expensive to photocopy the color copies, and it's not really any better. So the Great Body Shop is a comprehensive health program. It is sequential. They learn something in kindergarten. It spirals all the way through to 5th grade. I always say to them, oh, remember how we talked about this last year? Oh, we've talked about this before. It ties in with the main health standards, which were just redone this summer, the national health standards, and the rest of the information is up there. This isn't, well, in a moment, it's another picture of the information that I gave you. And it tells a little bit more, there we go, about the 10 different units that are given out per grade level. We don't necessarily make it through all 10. You'll notice on your paper that it says, in January you teach such and such. I try to stick to that as much as I can. Snow days kind of hamper that. I teach health on Mondays. There's a lot of Monday holidays. So we can get behind, but that's just a basic outline to go by. You can kind of move it around on your own to suit you as a teacher. So as I was saying, how it works is we order the program. It comes with a teacher manual per unit that kind of explains, pass that down too, how to teach it, what to include. Again, that's from 2014. And so what I have done is gone, there we go. So what I've done in the past is I'll put a sticky note on that or the folder that I have all the information in of other ways I can supplement some of the outdated information. I try to include some videos to explain the information and kind of captures the kids' attention. Books that maybe I can use to help explain something, just so that it's as current as I can make it versus 2014, which doesn't sound like that long ago, but it is, things change. We get a teacher guide, 10 units per grade level. You order the student issues per how many you have in your class. It comes with a CD for kindergarten kids. There is a lovely song that goes with every unit. You may have one at home, Chris.
I
It's
sure do.
super catchy. We listen to them as we introduce each unit, and then at the end they can take the CD home with them and share it with their families. It also, if we update the program, it has access to an online component for students, teachers, and parents to use, which would be really nice.
Do you think that online component would come in handy on days where we have remote
Sure
learning
do.
days?
That's a couple slides down, yes. This is really hard to see, but basically what it shows you, I compared buying the program 2 different ways. The first one on this side would be 20 of those handouts per grade level. We don't have a class of 20. The most we have right now is 18. A few extras can be nice, because the other thing that tends to happen to them, because I reuse them year after year, is people write on them, they draw on them. So when that happens, I have to take them out, which is how we've run out of some of them. So it just, if we ordered 20, it would give us a few extras. So to do that with the teacher manuals, it's $1,230 to buy the whole thing. To do it with only 18, it's about $1,140 to update everything. And then if you bump the slide ahead,
Yeah.
that would be the initial cost of it. And so what they recommend after that is all you have to do is buy the student issues, which are $7.50. It's about $900 a year after that. If we were to order it every year, they recommend that the teacher manuals be updated every 5 years. But again, I am okay if we updated once using that information for the next couple of years and not, so we don't have to spend $900 every year to get new student issues. So it also any updates that they make to the teacher's manual before they reprint a new one are updated online so that you can go in and look at those online. And okay, well anyways, the updated program has a new section about COVID-19 included with it, which is not in this because in 2014 it wasn't a thing. So there's a big section that they just redid for COVID. There's also a bigger online component, which I do think would be really useful on snow days or virtual days or kids that are out sick or kids that go on vacation. It just gives them another way to log in and see that information. It connects with Google Classroom, which I use in health quite easily. I actually have 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students take their tests online rather than paper pencil through Google Classroom. And I have typed in the tests, but with this new program, it's there. It will load right into Google Classroom so that I don't have to type them and nobody can pick out my mistakes, which they do love to do. There's a bigger social emotional learning component that has been put into the new curriculum. It is there in some of these now, but because it's become a bigger topic, it's been woven in even more. The new student handouts have better graphics and illustrations, which you might think to yourself, okay, or whatever. But it's updated so that kids see things they see in everyday life. There's one in here that shows a cell phone that's a giant cell phone. There's one that has a wall phone, and kids will read it and go, what is that? So it's updated, so it's what they see around them right now. There's also this really awesome Family Connections newsletter, which can be sent home. It also can be included with little snippets of it with our newsletter that we send home through the school. And I really feel like it's time to update it and get really good current information for our students to learn. So, any questions?
Yeah, quick question for you. So, you said that you think that if we just buy it initially,
Yes.
how long do you think it would be good for before you'd want to update it again? For the students, because you said teachers, you guess maybe every 5
Yeah.
years. Students, do you think you could go 2, 3? Because I understand
I think
things
I could go.
change.
Probably 5. I
Go
mean,
every 5
I'd be
years.
comfortable going
Yeah.
almost as long as I went now, in all honesty.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you look
I
at
know we have a
service-
limited budget, I know we're not able to
Where
do
the
that.
2014 is a little outdated.
I mean, for $900, you got 8 years, it's like $110 a
Well-
year for like. for
Well,
the
that's
whole
what I was
curriculum.
thinking, and also because the cost difference between 20 versus 18, you're better off to get the 20, because this is a growing community.
Correct.
And we will get to a point where we'll have
Yes.
20 kids per
Yes.
classroom.
Yes.
So it's like a difference of, like you said, maybe $150. So in the scheme of things, in my mind, that's not a deal.
Yeah.
But,
Any other questions?
That was a good presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. It was great to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And kids do come home and talk about what
Oh,
you're
they
teaching
do.
them. They do, it's
I
great.
sometimes wonder
They
how
do.
Richard was telling me what makes him afraid, and I was like, oh, that was a
That's what
January
we just
lesson.
did on
Yeah.
Is there an answer to, Dad, why is that man smoking a fire stick? Like, what's the right answer?
We do actually have a really great
Where do we start?
smoking unit, but they don't hit it until 4th grade.
It's coming. It's so cute. Okay, all set?
You're all
Okay,
set.
thank you very much.
Thanks, Liz.
We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Liz.
Okay. Principals report.
So we have quite a few things on the report this school committee meeting. The first thing I want to talk about, when mid-January, after we had our fall NWA benchmark scores, really didn't look at them, but Reed Dyer from Reed Dyer Consulting came in and we really did a deep dive into not just a real surface look at NWA scores, but really dug into what the reports can tell us and how it can help us support student learning. So, and Reed's been working with us all year and is going to continue to work with us moving forward to kind of keep continuity of learning for staff. Also, Sebago Elementary is one of 4 Maine schools selected to participate in the Maine School Cafeteria Waste Study. Ted and Morgan kind of got together with them and had a good conversation. It started Monday and it goes through the 31st of March. And the goal is, over the 2-month period, to reduce our waste by 40%. And the study is done through the University of Maine Mitchell Center. So that was kind of nice to be one of the 4 schools in the state. Also, Sebago Elementary School fundraiser through the Salad Bar School program. We're trying to get, as you can see, our salad bar is quite old. It's over 20 years old. And so we have a link that we sent to families if they want to help support that fundraiser, because the quicker we get support, the quicker we'll get it. Right now, if we just go through the fundraising process, it's 12 to 18 months. And Morgan would like to have it wrapped up by August and have it here for next school year. And it will make the whole process of serving lunch a lot more seamless. And one thing that I did put on here, we got our new dishwasher, and it really cleans well, and they're pretty excited to have that in there. During February break, we'll be replacing the floor in the teacher's lounge in the 3rd grade classroom. The company is Portsmouth Quality Flooring. They've been very flexible with us to allow us to get some things done now, and then the rest of the work we're going to do in July. We're going to get the last 4 classrooms done in July, but we're going to get started over February break. So when Brenda comes back, her classroom will have brand new floors. When the teachers come back, and if you spill anything in the teacher's lounge, it's easier to clean up. So that'll be nice to have new flooring there. The Sebago Elementary Ski Club has been a great success, even though we had a couple bumps in the road with buses. And it's been a great experience. I hear the kids are really excited when they come back. They're cheering and kind of really excited about what happened that day. We have February 8th, which is this Wednesday. And then we have February 15th, is the last trip to Pleasant Mountain. And I do want to say, and it's been a long time coming, is that our dog Sally, our school therapy dog in training, is now officially in training. I've been through 3 sessions with her. She's got her blue vest that says therapy dog in training. I'm still keeping her away from the students to a degree, but I'm walking her down the hallway. Kids will walk by. She kind of ignores them. She stays at heel. And that's just trying to get her used to it, so that way when we're through all the training, she'll be able to service and support kids. So I'm excited. I'm hoping by April break she's ready, but she's not the most disciplined dog. So it may be June. And then finally, our RTI and PBIS committee's been working. They're really in full swing. They've been working hard. We've really committed some time to those committees. And we hope to have actionable results for the 2023-24 year to have a RTI and not just an academic RTI, but a social emotional RTI team stood up for next year. And we also, PBIS is a long process. It's years of work, but we are hoping to be ready at Tier 1 with common language and common expectations for next year. So that's exciting. And the committee spends, just so you know, about 90 minutes every half-day Wednesday when we have our PLC time. We are going to devote the next time we're together a full 3 hours, so we can really dig in and get some work done. That's it.
Lots of great.
John, I had a question about the salad bar.
Yeah.
I got the flyer and, it seemed all well and good, but I think a question that might be on parents' minds is that, okay, we're getting a grant to pay for the salad bar next year, then why are we donating to get it quicker? And then where's the grant money gonna go in the future if you're not gonna spend the grant money on the salad bar? It just seemed a little confusing to me.
Yep, what I can do to update that, we've got our newsletter out, and I can have Morgan update it tomorrow with that information.
Okay.
And then I can just send out a text to all the parents, say, please check out the, the nutrition programs piece of the newsletter.
Yeah, yep,
Parents can
that'd be
take a
great.
look at that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions, David?
No, good, John, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Thanks, John. Okay, Chairwoman's report. So, update on the superintendent search. David, what am I reporting on? That we are discussing interview
That
questions?
you, have engaged MSMA,
Okay,
that you've met with the committee to begin to move the process forward.
okay. Did everybody hear that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have that as an action item for number 10 as well.
Right. We met with the MSMA. We have engaged them, which we will be officially voting on in a couple of minutes.
That's right.
Yeah. To do a certain amount of the search process for us. We will then be going through the applications and we'll be conducting the interviews. So where we are right now is applications. The application process is open until March 3rd. And right now we're working on developing interview questions, which the MSMA will help us craft, which is great. That's why they're there.
Good.
Okay, any questions about that? Anybody have any questions? Okay. All right, and also, under the chairwoman's report, I have Wendy report on the lantern parade because she never got the opportunity to do that.
Well, let's see, that was back in December, I believe. I think, I think we've discussed it, but we had basically all the kids in the school made lanterns for the parade. It was held on December 19th, and we started out at 5 o'clock. We had refreshments right outside the door of the lobby here, and everybody came and enjoyed having hot cocoa from the Lions Club and cookies from the PTC and other people donating. And then we had, I would think we had about 100 people participate, and we had a longer parade than usual, which made it especially nice. And it was just beautiful. I think everybody enjoyed it, and we look forward to doing it again next year.
And don't miss it in the Bridgeton News this week, but there was a picture of it.
Nice.
Did you see that?
That's great. That's also the type of thing that if we get photos to Matt, he can put on the changing photo piece.
Okay,
Thank you, that's great.
good idea. Did you get that, Matt? Okay. Thank you, Wendy. Okay, number 10, action items. We are voting on hiring the Maine School Management Association to support the search for and hiring of the school superintendent. And Maggie, once we have a motion and a second, we'll do discussion. Okay?
So moved to do exactly what Danelle just stated.
Seconded.
Thank you. All right, discussion.
Yep, so I do have a question, because I know Ray had gotten the laid out itinerary sheet of how much it would cost for us to use their services. I think my biggest question, and I know we had talked about it a little bit when we had our meeting, but the biggest cost is the $1,000 for us to go to the website to be able to see resumes. Is this something that we can get I'm just trying to figure out, is there a way to get around that? Like, how can we get to the resumes a different way? Like, do we have to use that service? Because it's the biggest cost. And I know that there was some people wanted it, some people didn't. And I guess my question is, if we didn't use it, how would we gain access to these resumes? Because I know she had mentioned, like, I know, what's that?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dave.
We would get a package with all of the printed out resumes in it, which we could then keep in a secure place. Committee members would come in and review either together as a group, or we could figure out a scanning and secure way to get them.
David, do we know of a,
I appreciate the cost piece. It's probably worth it to have them do it. We know it's secure, but
Well, and I remember her referencing, like, they'd have to send it by a certified courier, and so I wonder how those costs would compare. Like, because it would still be kind of an embedded extra cost.
that would be my only question.
Yeah.
Is there a line item that shows us what the cost savings would be if they were to be delivered with hard copies and whatnot?
And also, we brought up the fact that if we could go find it on the website, then we can access it at our own convenience, because to have the time to really read these resumes, rather than having to, it's a little bit more cumbersome the other way around. So, and I think in the idea, for the idea of efficiency, where we do have a timeline here, I think that the money is probably well spent.
And I don't discount the easeability of it. I guess my question was, is that the only way to get those resumes electronically? And the reason why I say that is because, is there another way that somehow we can do that? I think, so that everybody can still have access to it. That was more my, and believe me, I'm not an IT person, so that's why I'm
I
asking.
mean, one option would be one courier to one person who uploads to, to share it, but I'm just thinking out loud.
That was my only question,
as
because I totally
as the
agree. I
person
think,
who might be tasked with making copies or scanning, we have limited capacity to do that type of work. And we
So-
have no capacity to make it secure. So I'd strongly encourage you to think about letting them do that, for the reasons we discussed at the last meeting.
Okay. No, that's why I was asking, because again, if their biggest concern is that they just want it to be secure, because part of me was like, well, can they email it to the chairperson, and then the chairperson uploads it, so then only committee members see it, but if they're worried about it being secured because there's no way to do it, then I understand that, but I was just curious.
I'm with you, Maggie, because, if you think about it, you file an application, you email it to folks, that's not really secure.
If you give me the question you want me to ask Elaine, or Eileen, sorry, I can ask her what the cost difference would be. If that's what you want.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing, so I know we want to get this wrapped up pretty quickly, so. No, I'm good. Like you said, I had to ask because it was the biggest item. And I guess my biggest question was just, was there another way to secure it within our group without having them do it? That was my biggest question.
I think Wasn't that question asked
And I think
of
we-
Eileen?
No, we
Yeah,
did.
it was.
We
Yeah.
did, we did discuss
The,
it.
the answer was, they would live in the superintendent's office, lock safe.
Okay.
You would come in at your convenience or at the time when all of you could do it,
Okay,
or you gonna put them back in.
yeah.
So,
Okay,
so you would have to physically
Physically
come
come
here
here
and
look
review them
Physically be
here.
there.
okay. As much as you want me in your office, David, I'll go with it. All right.
Frankly, I think it's baked into the price, but they forgot to move some funds over to the other sections, but whatever.
All right. Nope, I'm good. Slides.
And any other discussion? Rich? No? Anybody? No? Yeah, no?
I was just gonna say, I wonder if it would be worth just in a nutshell explaining to people why we're hiring them. What the advantage is as opposed to doing the hiring process all on our own. Like what the MSMA does for our school.
David, would you like to take that question?
It's long, I think,
I don't know if there's a
Whitney
nutshell.
has experience of the recent, hiring. I think that, I actually think it is a school committee response, good, and why would you not do it yourself without mentioning details of a previous search?
Okay.
Yeah, I think in terms of
If you know what I mean.
the volume of
Yes.
applications that the school committee might receive and the time that we would all have to dedicate in separate meetings to review all of the applicants, we might receive up to 50 applications for this one position. And for us to all sit around and vet each and every one of those would be very difficult compared to MSMA hiring them to complete the winnowing of those applicants to determine here are the top 12 to 15 that we think are great. And then we review those applicants and pick our best applicants agreed by the committee to move forward to an interview stage of between 6 and 8 applicants. And then from there, we would winnow it down to our best 2 and then make an offer. So I think for the amount of money that is invested, the benefit is just apparent to the entire committee. And we're also working against time, so we have to complete this process by a date certain, and we're really in the thick of it to be able to hire someone before the next school year starts.
Good explanation, thank you. And to put it in terms that the teachers will understand, when we were part of 61, you could meet with other third grade teachers, right? Other special ed teachers. You could meet with other principals. So you guys, now that we're here on our own, we're here on our own. And so the school committee, the MSMA is there for a reason. And for us, they're our go-to to help us with everything that we need. And we have been using them. And most of what they do is free, so it's great.
Well, and I think too, what I was kind of pointing to too, it's like they're kind of a safeguard. They have procedures, protocols in place. It will be
Yeah.
completely transparent by the book, checking all the boxes, doing the background checks. It's the most thorough, research-backed approach we can take to make sure we're doing this with due diligence, so.
Spoken like a true volunteer committee.
All good reasons.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none,
Oh, we have to vote.
we have to vote. All in favor of the motion? All right. So, under discussion items, we have some information on before and after care programs that Maggie handed us. Where's, now I've lost them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what I handed out to you guys is basically just, I basically went and I talked to 4 surrounding towns to just try to find out what do they do? You know, do they have a full-time rec department? Do they not? And if they do, how do they help their towns and their schools? A lot of them that I found have many things in common, which is good because it gives us a good start. And before I go into it, I also just want to give the public and everybody in mind that it's not the school board's, it's not our wish to take over this program. I'm just trying to get together information because I would like the town to own this program. So my hope is that by kind of going through this, I have some survey questions I would like to go out to all the parents, and based on that response, is if we move forward or not. So I talked to Leamington, Buxton, Standish, and Naples. They're all surrounding towns, just to get an idea. I'll start with Leamington because they are really close and they're pretty comparable to us. They're a small town, and actually this past year is the first year that they had a full-time rec department. They hired a full-time rec director, and they have a salary of $52,000 a year. Our current rec director is only part-time, and I think she's making 20?
20, yeah.
So she's making 20. So keep in mind, so this poor woman that is trying to run our rec department is also being pulled in other directions because I know she's working for other towns as well. She's doing the best she can, but I also feel that the kids for the school district are not getting as much as they could. But in order to have a full-time rec department, you need a director that is willing to take over that program full-time and to grow it, because right now we don't have one. Depending on, every town was different when it came to funding. It ranged from, they started out with funds of maybe 55,000 up to 100,000, you know, depending on what they had. So again, Leamington, they started out with 100,000, but it was only because they have a day camp in their area that supports the area, and basically they gave those funds to the town, and that's what started their fund. They have programs of all ages, and all the funds go back into the rec department, which is what most of them do anyway. They currently do not have a before and after school care. However, he is asking in March to have a budget of $75,000 to actually start that for the following school year. They're looking at, you know, they have certain hours for before care, they will charge a certain amount per week, same with aftercare. His program is only looking at 20 kids, I think because their school system's pretty small, but he said there's room for more. He's basing his numbers based on 20 kids. And, you know, they're looking to hire 4 staff, working anywhere from 15 to 25 hours a week. The other towns that I looked at between Buxton, Standish, and, actually, I'll just say Buxton and Standish, that they do have before and after care. They basically utilize between teachers that are already at the school. They're using high school students. Obviously, they run background checks on everybody. If they're already a teacher, it's already done. But the good thing with the teachers is that it's not part of your teacher, what's the word for it?
Contract?
Thank you. It's not part of the teacher contract, so it's something separate. So you don't have to worry about using time, you know, where it's not supposed to be used. You're paid by the town, or you're paid by the rec department, depending on how it works. And like I said, just depending on what town you go to, some towns are bigger than others. I would say like most of the towns that are comparable to ours, their rec director that was full-time was making $50,000 or $55,000 a year. What I would like to do is I'd like to put a survey out to the parents, and John, I can easily craft something up to maybe email you to go in the Friday folders.
Yep.
And to just say, if the town provided before and after care at the school, would you utilize this program? And just say yes or no, like, would you use it before school? And I've put a time to say 7 to 8:15. And then after school, 3 to 5:30, you know, yes or no, and if both, check it off. Same with if the town provided a summer camp program at the school, would you utilize it? Because depending on those two answers alone, if you get a participation percentage of 50% or more, it's definitely worth looking into. If you get a too small amount, it may not be worth it. But if we do get those numbers, I would love to go to the town with a budget to say, this is what we're asking. Does the town have it in their budget to hire a full-time rec director at this amount to run these programs? And this is the quote-unquote numbers that we have that we think you would need to start it. Because I would love the town to own this program. I don't think it should be us. But no, but again, the other part that I want to ask on that survey is to find out what homes also need financial assistance with the program. Because that would also fall into place, because I'm sure a lot of parents would love to utilize it, but maybe they can't afford it. So that's where we ask the town, start looking into grants, what can we do? I know when it came to summer programs as well, between this school, they also utilize the lunch program, which is great. I mean, that was kind of a question on the budget, because I saw that, you know, they have so much. Is that budget, can it be stretched through the summer? So, you know, there's other questions I have, but it's gonna be based on the percentage of parents that would put their kids in these programs first.
And we're still fine tuning the questions, but I think, you know, one thing would be, we anticipate before school would cost so much per week, after school would cost so much per week. So that way, parents are informed and they can answer whether or not they would need the assistance going forward.
And from what I found, like I said, with all the numbers I have, and like I said, when I find a common theme, most before-school programs are $40 a week. Most after-school programs are $60 a week. So if they're doing both, it's $100 a week. That was very common with every town. So it's a good base to start with. And it also gives us a chance to say, because we also have to look at with what the town pulls into their programs, they also need to hire staff. So through those funds, do they need to be able to hire staff out of that, or with what the town might give us for a budget, do they hire folks out of that budget, maybe that first or second year as they go through the program?
So we have it scheduled as an agenda item for our next committee meeting, but there are grants available. Maggie and I have been looking at, you know, some of the main state grants that just opened up again for the fiscal year going forward, but obviously we'd be rushing to try to apply this year, which is very difficult, but at least if we can propose this to the selectmen and have the town move forward, that would be the first step.
And I honestly think the goal would just be for this school year, just to find out what the participation level would be, and if there is a need to try to get this maybe in the works for next school year. Because it won't happen this school year as much as we would love it to. But for 2024, maybe, 2025 definitely, if there's a need for it. But like you said, it's one of those where I think once we get some of that feedback, we can figure out if we're gonna move forward or we're gonna squash it.
Right.
So, any questions?
So when will you be bringing this to the selectmen?
Once I wanna get the numbers first.
Survey, okay.
Because say, for example, if we put the survey out in a Friday folder, I would ask that it hopefully come back like a Monday, Tuesday. Literally give it to my kid, he can give it to me and I'll go through the numbers.
Yep.
But then at least that way, because I wanna go to the town to say, look, we did a survey. We
Right.
have 60% of the students that would participate in this. There is a need, and that's not just from, say, for example, you're like, hey, you got 60% that wanna participate in before and after programs. You've got 70% that would do the summer program. You've got a big need. And so that's what, I need those numbers before I go to the town.
Right.
So if I can get those numbers in February, I can put something together and hopefully get it on the March agenda. So I did find out as long as I give them something a week before they have a meeting, it should be on their docket, so.
Can you see this as possibly starting in the fall of 2024
That's a hard
That's
push.
gonna be a stretch because
of hiring?
we are going to have to, or I should say not we, the town is gonna have to try to find a rec director that is willing to build this from the ground up. Because they've got not much to start with, because we're only a part-time rec right now. So they would almost need a year, I think, to build a program. Summer program would definitely not happen, the before and after, and maybe you can do one. You
Well,
may
that's what I
not
was
have
gonna
both,
say,
maybe you could do one, and you just see which one has the bigger need. Say if the after-school has a greater need, maybe we just start with that. And they say, okay, they put out feelers and they say, yep, we hired a rec director, it's gonna be that person's job to build that program and to figure out how to make it work, as long as we said, hey, you know, we want the school to be a part of it, use this facility, and we can work out all the details from there, but yeah, I don't, 2024 is gonna be a stretch, so.
And what if the board says no?
Then
Do
they
you
say-
have
Then they say no.
backup plan?
It's called, you just keep working on them until they say yes. You know?
Well, and
know
especially where
that.
you have done the work to show, well, this is how other towns are doing it. It has to be a community effort. Like,
Right.
it's a lot
And-
to put on a school.
And I think the biggest argument going into it with the town, other than the money aspect, is to say, your kids are missing out on a lot. Because I know for experience, my kids go to rec departments in other towns because this school does not have one.
I know
You
people who take their kids to school in other towns because they can't make there's no childcare, so
Exactly.
they can't
And
entertain
that's
work
the
in
hard
school.
part.
I have 2 students in the aftercare program who live in Sebago and yet attend Sockatoo Valley.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
mean,
sad because they
that's-
should have been here.
Right, and that's what I think the town needs to look at. They need to look at the big picture.
Well, that's a
So-
good point.
So if they say no, obviously I want a reason why, but I think we would just have to kind of work on the rebuttal. That's why I think when I go forward, I have to have a lot of my ducks in a row to say, this is the percentage, this is the need, this is what we think the startup cost might be.
And there is a self-sufficiency to part of it. I mean, obviously, we would have to see how many folks would need assistance. That's,
Right.
really where the town would
Right.
lean. But in addition to receiving grants from the state and then having the money coming in for parents that want to participate at the full level, then the town would only have to make up that difference to get us to that, point each and every month.
Well, and the nice thing is like I said, I will use Standish as a great example. Their town provides a very small budget because once they grew the program, they are basically self-sufficient. So their town budget was, I think it was like 79.
Well, no.
where was it? Oh, so their general fund was 196,000 provided by the town. So this is stuff that they get from taxpayers. They have a special revenue fund, which is 500,000, and that is based on every program that they have that they make. So all proceeds that they use, so every program they have, you gotta remember, they're not just doing programs for kids. They're reaching out to senior citizens, to anybody. They're doing pickleball, they're doing bingo night, they're doing, botanical garden trips, they're doing anything they can. And any extra money that they get in, they're putting into this revenue fund because that's what pays for everything else. Because they don't want to tax their townspeople more than they already are. I think there was another one where they don't use the town at all. And I think that was Buxton. Yeah, so Buxton, they don't have town assistance at all. But again, they started out with town assistance, but they need time to build the program. And that might be something, again, where if you talk to the town and say, look, this is not a forever thing, but we need time to build a program. And, you hopefully give it maybe 4 or 5 years and you've got something.
So basically, if all parties decided, yes, that would be a great thing to implement. We would simply be a partner with the town in what you're proposing.
Yes.
We would be providing the space.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, and I would recommend that if they said, yes, we'd love to move forward with it, I would recommend that the town form their own committee
Mhm.
to figure out how to move forward. Because again, this is just for us to push the envelope to them, to say the town has a need, the school has a need, because the kids have a need as well. So, what can the town do?
Just out of curiosity, did you talk to any schools that maybe do their own after-school program, just to kind of compare?
Well, you gotta remember, so, Buxton and Standish, they, the schools, so actually, no, they're all rec department. I don't know of really any schools that head it themselves. Like, most of the before, after, and summer programs are all run by a rec department for that town.
Bridgeton used to have an in-house program, so does Freiburg.
They had a SAC program,
Yeah, and I
But-
think it still exists because there's also Bridgeton Rec.
but I thought SAC was a separate entity that, once again,
It's a nonprofit.
they come in and do the program at
Just like
the elementary.
Naples has a nonprofit.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so Naples
yeah.
was different because actually the rec department wants to take it over, but currently there's a nonprofit group that runs the before and after care right now.
Right.
And it's only because they've been doing it for years, and the current rec director has only been there, I think, 2 or 3 years, so he was trying to give it some time before he tackled it. But he wants the rec department to take it over if he could. And the only reason why is because of where they're running it right now. They're actually taking the kids from the surrounding schools in Naples, because they've got a couple of them, like Samba Walks and stuff like
And
that.
Crooked River, yeah.
And they're shuttling them to a different location. He
Yeah.
said if the rec department ran it, they would keep the kids in the school, so they wouldn't have to go anywhere.
I read that in the Bridgeton News.
Yeah, so that was his goal.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep.
Is there anything else you wanted to add? Is that it?
The only thing,
Any
the only one
questions?
suggestion to consider, when you were talking about the cost, for parents to weigh in on the survey, with the 40, the 60, the 100, if you would offer a sibling discount rate.
Yes, and
That's
that,
a common
so like you
question.
said,
That is
that's
a common
something
question.
where, and it's hard to put it on here because we don't know the need yet.
Right.
We can honestly, I mean, we can spin it so many different ways, and yes, a lot of towns do that.
Mhm.
So, like you said, it's a certain price for one child, if there's more than one child participating, there is a discount. And that's for both summer programs and
Right.
before after care. So I would suggest that the town do the same
Yeah.
thing, because most people have more than one child. So, and it is helpful.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing where with, before and after care, say for example, if they utilize all 5 days, you may want to do a daily rate of something different, but if you say, hey, it's all 5 days, it's a lower rate because it's a discount because you're using all 5 days. It's the same with summer programs. If it's a 7-week program, if you're only picking certain weeks, this is the full price. If you do all 7 weeks, it's a discounted price.
Mhm.
So, you can definitely, there's a lot of flexibility there. It's just a matter of what kind of numbers do we want to play with. So,
Good work, thank you
Yeah.
for doing the research.
That's great.
Okay, items for future agenda. We will obviously be bringing this back to a future agenda. And the grants that you were talking about. And I would also like to add to a future agenda something like a traffic committee. The select board would like to partner with the school on solving the traffic issues. And because the town has things, I thought they were gonna send their sign down here to put up at the end of the driveway to, school zone, speed limit, things like that, but it's winter. I don't know if they don't keep it out in the winter because of, plowing. So that never materialized.
The only strategy we used is we pulled the traffic line out further it's really keeping people off.
But we need signs. And that's a state thing right there, but the town has to pay for it. So I figured if they've offered, there were 2 select people who would like to sit on a committee, then maybe we could get you and maybe a couple of staff members here, a couple of the school committee members, maybe some community members, I don't know, and just hammer it out because.
Maybe someone from the library too, because it's the library
Yes,
parking that
yes.
causes a lot of problems.
That would be
Yeah.
good. And the dream was always to have a crosswalk.
From the school to the library.
Exactly. But you have to have a sidewalk. So,
Well,
well, we were told that.
it's the little things.
I know. So anyway, I would like to bring that to a future agenda.
Sure.
And I think it's something that we can look at, so just an FYI. Because we don't want any accidents happening. That would be terrible. Okay, information items, future.
Can I just
Sorry,
add?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
can I just add one item?
yeah.
John, I was just wondering if in the next next school board meeting, if I could just get an update, and I only bring this up because the school calendar is coming back up soon. I know I had to bring it up. So I know that we had left a lot of the half-days in because the teachers needed them. So I was just wondering if I can just get a progress report on how is that working for the teachers? If they're able to get the stuff done that they need done? Do they need more? Do they need less? Just how is that going?
Okay, we can do that.
Perfect, thank you. I know everybody laughs.
It's a good.
It's coming up, I know it is.
Okay. So future meetings, we'll be meeting on Tuesday, February 28th, at 6 PM for a workshop and 7 PM for our meeting. And then in March, we're scheduled for a workshop, March 28th at 6 PM and meeting at 7 PM. And then do you want me to go over the dates we just set, or are we finance was you and I, right, Rich? And
Yeah.
David?
Yep.
Yep.
I had a quick question.
Oh, but we did have the other 2.
Yes, the ones in March.
Yeah.
But I do have a quick question. I thought we were changing our meeting times from 7 to 6. So
We,
we're
we decided not to.
not, so we're not doing
No.
that?
Okay, wow, I don't even know. Okay, I'm looking at the, what were the 2 dates for the superintendent search interview?
Oh,
Oh,
superintendent
3/9,
search.
3/23, so that's March.
23rd?
March 9th?
Thursday the 9th.
March 9th at 6 PM.
23rd.
And then, so I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, here we are. 6 PM on March 9th,
6 PM.
and then interviewing on the 23rd.
So 23 at 4. Okay, there, so that would be the ones that weren't on there because we didn't decide that until the workshop. Okay, and I simply need a motion to go into executive session
So moved?
for a personnel matter pursuant to MRSA 405-6A.
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any discussion?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, there we go. We could probably go back to the office.
You want to do that?
Yeah.